Hi everyone, my name is Sophia and I'm going to be talking about dog debarking. Dog debarking is also known as dog devocalization. In medical terms, it is called ventriculocorductomy, which means surgical removal of the vocal cords. It is a surgical procedure where the dog is put under general anesthesia and gets either a portion of their vocal cords taken out, which is called partial devocalization, or the majority of it, which is the total devocalization. This procedure is one of the most controversial procedures in the veterinary world. One of the reasons why some people do it is because some dog breeds tend to bark way more than other dogs. Every dog owner knows, or at least dog owners that care, that barking is dog's way to communicate. It is just that some dogs tend to communicate to every little thing they see or hear. Some examples of dog breeds that are really vocal are the Beagles, Yorkshire Terriers, Chihuahuas, Huskies, and Shetland Sheepdogs, also known as Shelties. For some owners, the only way to keep their dog is to do dog debarking due to the noise complaints that most of them receive. If for some reason the owner did not want to devocalize their dog, the most of the time the dogs are given up to shelters and end up not getting adopted, and for the worst case, getting euthanized. But what exactly is dog devocalization? What is the process and how is it done? Dog devocalization does not mean that the dog will stop barking. They will continue to bark just like normal dogs, but what changes is the volume or the sound of their bark. For partial devocalization, it basically just lowers the volume of their bark, while total devocalization makes a dog's bark sound like a whisper, but some tends to be permanently mute. There are also two ways on how the vets do the procedure. One is the oral approach and the other is the laryngotomy. For the oral approach, they start with the dog lying on the sternal recumbency and make their way to the vocal cord through the oral cavity. They basically insert the instruments through the oral cavity and remove the vocal cords. This way is the less expensive and easier approach, though there is a greater possibility that a webbing will occur. Webbing means vocal cords tissue regrowth. If this happens, future respiratory problems might develop, and no one really wants that. So for it not to happen, they make multiple procedures, doing it few weeks apart to avoid the webbing. Another approach is what we call laryngotomy. Laryngo meaning voice box, and tomy means to cut. Instead of just removing the vocal cords, they now have to do another procedure which is the laryngotomy. The dog is placed in a dorsal recumbency and cutting straight through the neck, no longer passing the oral cavity. In this case, the procedure becomes more complicated and requires more time to heal. It is definitely more expensive and is mostly done as a corrective procedure if the oral approach was not effective or other complications started to rise. Once a dog is debarked, the healing process might depend on how the approach was done. There are some cases that when a dog heals, they basically return to normal, or they basically return to their original self, except for the volume of their bark. There are other cases, though, that some owners still give up their dog even though they already devocalized them. So those dogs basically still end up to the pound. And like I said earlier, no one really adopts them. So they tend to get euthanized. Some say that the debarked dog doesn't even notice that their voice is gone. But there are also some cases that the dogs become more stressed or aggressive due to the decreased ability to communicate. So if you guys have time, I'm gonna post another video which I found on YouTube, and it shows a video of some dogs that are devocalized. If you guys have any more questions, just comment. Thank you.